You know, we're sitting here, you and I, like a couple of regular fellas. You do what you do, I do what I gotta do. And now that we've been face to face, if I'm there and I gotta put you away, I won't like it. But I'll tell you, if it's between you and some poor bastard whose wife you're gonna turn into a widow, brother, you are going down.
There's a flip side to that coin. What if you do got me boxed in and I gotta put you down? Because no matter what, you will not get in my way. We've been face to face, yeah. But I will not hesitate. Not for a second.
Maybe that's the way it'll be. Or, who knows?
Well, maybe we'll never see each other again.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. I've waited years to talk to you, and the moment's happened, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you for that. Dante, for those listening or watching, because this is not live, but when I do publish it, I just want to read a few of your filmography. Obviously, you know this. Many people might know some, but just to give a bigger scope of things, Heat, Last of the Mohicans, Family Guy, Public Enemies, Ant-Man and Wasp, Red Dragon, The Wonder Boys, Insider, The Quick and the Dead, Beaches, Manhunter, LA Confidential. That's just the tip of the iceberg too, Dante. Dante, it's almost overwhelming that you are a huge part of all these classic movies.
Thank you.
Does it ever feel like that to you though? Because you're making it, you're behind the lens of some of the best movies in the last 100 years. Does it ever hit you like that?
Not really, to be honest. Yeah, I know some movies are very good. When I talk to students or people, I do some sort of lessons. I know the audience usually. I screen, for instance, a little section of The Last of the Mohicans. That is the first love look that the two main characters, Daniel Day-Lewis and Madeline Stowe, exchange in an infirmary. And I screen those 10 shots that have to do with that sequence just to explain kind of the basics of some sort of filmic language, some cinema language. So yeah, what else? So I usually open anytime I talk to somebody. I open with screening those 4 or 5 shots, which to me represent in a very simple way really the ABC of film grammar. How to tell a story. How do you tell the story of two guys who exchange a love look for the first time between each other? Surely you have to make them look good. It's a movie.
Yeah. Yes, that's a great answer. You know what else I noticed too, Dante, with a lot of your great work, and a lot of what you put on screen, it's amazing how many times a good score complements cinematography and vice versa. Like Elliot Goldenthal, you got his work and your work was just so wonderful, and Danny Elfman as well. So it's amazing how much a good score complements cinematography and vice versa, right? Isn't that kind of a bit of a key to it?
Yeah, it's amazing and it's kind of magical also. I have to agree with you. I was praised so many times. I even got calls to shoot commercials, and I got calls from other directors of movies who told me, Dante, your job on The Last of the Mohicans is really excellent. But how did you do that amazing shot of the bridge? You know, there's a shot of a bridge.
Mm.
The park. It's actually shot in Nashville. And the water is very quiet. It's very calm. And on top of the bridge, there's a carriage that goes through, you know, and that comes inside of it. There's the British officer who is in love with the woman who will become the love interest of Daniel Day-Lewis. Well, the bridge shot, the bridge shot is so amazing. And it so happens to be when the bridge shot comes on the screen, one of the themes of The Last of the Mohicans, wonderful themes. You know, Michael Mann is very magic with music. The music of his soundtracks are always very studied, accurate, and emotionally beautiful. And well, I didn't do that shot. I wasn't there. The director wasn't there. Guzmano Cesaretti was there, who was one of the life assistants of Michael Mann, a photographer, still photographer, was also became one of his co-producers, with a relatively unknown B camera or C camera Texan cameraman, you know, camera operator, who did this shot as a kind of a second unit. But the combination of the great shot and the music makes it one of the most spectacular moments in the film. And that was The Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah. The last 7 minutes of that movie, Dante, where they're on like the cliff and the mountain. I have never seen a movie where the cinematography is perfect, the music is perfect, the acting is perfect. Like the look in Alice's eyes when she's looking at Wes Studi, you know, and the camera kind of is going in like a circle. You're looking at his view, then her view, and oh my God, it's still breathtaking years later, Dante. You know what I'm talking about? The scene where they're kind of going in a circle and Alice is walking to the edge and they kind of are going back and forth in that little circle. You know what I'm saying? It's an amazing shot.
Yeah. It's kind of suspended in
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah.
That whole series, like just the look in her eyes, like she is.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Before she throws herself off the cliff.
Yes.
Because yes. Sorry, I now focus on the event, and I do remember Michael telling me, Dante, we gotta do here the most beautiful shot of her face we could think of. You know, let's make her. It's an absolutely magic moment, and it so happens if you watch closely that there was a drop of water falling from the ledge just above the camera.
Yeah.
It fall through the frame. We didn't do it.
Yeah.
It was coming from
That, you know, and I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I just wanted to say that Wes Studi, who plays the bad guy in the movie, is he terrific. You know, listen, Daniel Day-Lewis, all the other ones, I get it, but Wes Studi is a secret sauce in that movie. He is very, very good.
Yeah, I don't know if you know that he hurt himself.
No,
he hurt himself 2 weeks. 2 weeks before he had to play the scene. You remember on the ledge?
Yeah.
If you watch the scene closely, there's only one shot in which he walks in head to feet, and you see him moving. Because 2 weeks earlier than that, he hurt himself. He hurt his knee.
Oh, okay.
And I think he was during a run, a running scene in Last of the Mohicans, and he had to get surgery. And so the movie was suspended for 2 weeks, except the movie was produced by John Landau, who then became very famous because he was the associate. I mean, he was the head of Fox when Titanic was produced by Jim Cameron, right?
Right.
But then he was the exec producer of Mohicans was the vice president of Fox. And what John Landau did, he made a deal with insurance, and we could shoot a lot of minor pieces of the movie that didn't have a huge budget. You know, Mohicans were shot on a fairly limited budget. So Michael, in those 2 weeks, actually made the movie work, because we shot things like the Kid, you know, the Mohican looking at Alice, from the forest on the waterfall, and a lot of run-bys and a lot of chases, and we did a lot of that stuff that we would not have had the time, allowed the time to do, if this hadn't happened.
Yeah.
So,
In that one scene where in that same cliff scene where he's putting down the knife and he's doing this to Alice, like, come here,
yeah,
which caused, boy, I tell you, that still gives me goosebumps, Dante, that whole thing. Dante, I feel like, and I'm going to sound old for my age, but I feel like they don't make movies like this anymore. I feel like this movie has aged so well. It is so watchable. It is still one of the best movies ever made. Whereas we're in a time today where I feel like we're mass producing a lot of stuff, right? The movie like this, you could just tell the love and craftsmanship that went into it. Cinematography, music, Michael Mann, and all of it. I don't know, Dante, am I sounding older than my age, or do you think that this thing's a classic?
You'll probably feel the same way. I'm half serious when I say this. You'll probably feel the same way when you see the last movie I shot coming out, which is a terrific film, directed by Barry Levinson.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Alto Nights, with Robert De Niro playing two characters in the movie. He's playing two mafia bosses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, Barry's an incredible director, and
Barry Levinson of the movie The Natural.
I don't know if The Natural.
Yeah.
No, The Natural wasn't The Natural the actor.
No, Redford didn't direct it. I think Barry Levinson directed The Natural.
I don't think so. He did. Barry did a lot of movies. I did a film. I mean, he did a famous film with the two actors together, Tom Cruise and I know, unfortunately, we'll cut this. But probably his most famous film, which got an Academy Award, was a movie with an actor who I was supposed to do a film with and never happened.
Right.
The short guy, one of the best actors in the USA.
It'll come to me.
The short guy, he did a film, Academy Award winner with Barry Levinson.
Not Rain Man. Not Rain Man. Is it Rain Man?
No. That's Sam Raimi. That's a director.
Yeah.
No, Barry did that movie with Tom Cruise and.
It'll come. I know Barry Levinson did The Natural. I'm positive, but I'm trying to think of that one you're talking about. You said it was Cruise and Levinson directed it.
Yeah, and the movie won an Academy Award. It was about two guys walking around. I probably haven't seen that movie either. Two guys walking around. He was a little off. The guy who played.
Yeah, it was Rain Man. Yeah, it was Rain Man, Dante.
Rain Man. There you go.
Rain Man. Yeah. Oh, yes. Great movie. Yes.
Yeah, Rain Man.
Yeah.
Rain Man. And I did the film with him something like 25 years ago, which was called Bandits.
Yes. Yeah, good movie. Good movie. Yeah.
Definitely a good movie with Kate Blanchett.
Mm-hmm.
I can say, when I can say that I work with Kate Blanchett, it's probably one of my, things I'm the most proud of. I mean, Kate is absolutely a fantastic person and a wonderful actress. And that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dante, it's amazing the people that you worked with, because you mentioned Kate Blanchett, De Niro, Pacino, Daniel Day-Lewis, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Red Dragon is one of the most underrated movies ever made. Russell Crowe, Gene Hackman, Ed Norton, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
Dante, what's it like to have a first row seat like that? I mean, cinematographer is vital to a film, but when you have names like that over your career and the career that you've had, does it ever not affect you? Are you always emotional about it when you're working with that? I mean, the best at their craft ever. Like some of the people you've worked with, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, in fact, an Italian publisher whose name is Nave di Teseo, is probably the biggest publisher, at least for this kind of book, just published a biography of mine, written by Nicola Lucchi.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Italian. It's called The Dream of Cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, do you want to see the cover? And
Sure.
This is the book.
Oh, very nice. That's you on the cover?
That's me on the cover. Yeah.
Oh, very
It was
cool.
back when I
Dante.
started in Nairobi. I was probably 17, and I was playing with this mixture camera, building it and
Yeah,
taking it
yeah.
down. So the title of the book is The Dream of Cinema. The Dream of Cinema, my life, one film at a time. And it wasn't that difficult for me to do it because the writer was very good. This guy,
Yeah.
whose name is Nicola Lucchi. Here it is.
Yep.
We had a great time in doing it. And I could do it easily because for me, it was like looking at this kid who was really dreaming about cinema back then,
Yeah.
And so I was able to talk about myself and tell all these stories, movie after movie, because there are plenty of stories, which I guarantee you, some of which are kind of unusual, unexpected, interesting. It's all in all a kid whose parents don't know what to do about him because he doesn't study Latin and Greek at school, right? Not to talk about math and sciences. I mean, I was doing high school, which are difficult in Europe and in Italy. And so luckily I had an uncle in Kenya, right?
Yeah.
Nairobi. So they sent me down there. The uncle of mine who was being a cameraman director. He was doing documentaries, newsreel, film, things like that. And so I went there. I stayed 1 year with him, his guest. And two things happened to me. First, I learned English, which back then was not common
Right.
in Italian kids.
Right.
That gave me a kind of an advantage. I mean, also because whenever there was to go around, whenever they were looking for someone to be an assistant to maybe a great DP who was coming down to Italy from UK to shoot commercials, they looked for me because I could speak English. So, for instance, that's how I met David Watkin. You know who David is?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, David Watkin has done some from out of Africa where he got the Academy Award.
Amazing film. Amazing film.
Amazing films. And he opened my eyes because he was the first guy who introduced soft light. He was lighting a scene, pushing a light against the wall, out of frame, right? Or simple things like that. And that was a major discovery, a major eye-opening in me that took me into research in some direction. And I always like to change. I always like to do something different, to drop, to forget. I always like to forget what I did in the previous film.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. Dante, what's the most emotional you've ever been behind the camera filming a movie? Can you remember a film or a scene?
Well, it was probably my first film as a freelance in 35 millimeter.
Right.
I just had abandoned Italian state television, where I had a wage, I had a job, a fixed job, right? And I left because I wanted to become a freelance. I wanted to shoot feature films. So I went to Rome. And the first 35 millimeter movie I was given to shoot was not a high budget, low budget movie, but it had an amazing cast, amongst which there was Stefania Sandrelli. Now, Stefania Sandrelli she's now probably similar age as mine. She might be around 80 or something.
Right.
But back then, she was a stunning beauty, first of all. She did 900 with Bertolucci, a few Bertolucci movies, including that famous film in Paris. How was it called? The Vittorio Storaro, my great colleague, Italian maestro, did. Stefania Sandrelli. I remember framing on Stefania. No? The first chance I had to be in a movie. and shoot with a 35 millimeter camera.
Mm.
High emotions. It was just the dream of the life. It was a movie in Venice. No, they came by. The movie was doing very well. We were having a great time, and I'm framing on this girl, this woman, Stefania, and I'm telling myself, listen, I'm talking to myself, and I'm saying, you may have husband, lovers, boyfriends, whoever you want. But when you're inside this frame, you're mine, baby.
That's awesome, Dante. That is awesome.
You're
That is
mine.
awesome. Yeah.
Actually, I was thinking of this as the title of the book, but
That would have been a great title. Yeah.
yeah.
So why do you think you and Michael Mann work so well together? Because I love when the two of you were a team. Boy, did you have some wonderful movies with him. So you guys are just a really, Public Enemies was so underrated, so good. Last of the Mohicans, Heat, which we're going to get to, The Insider, it's just one after another. Manhunter. I mean, my God, you guys are such a good team. And when you guys shoot, Dante, I always feel, and I feel like I know when I'm watching a Michael Mann film, it's got, and you maybe know the technical term for it, but it's like a haze to it. It's so beautiful to watch. I don't see it in any other movies. So whatever you wanted to say about my ramblings just then.
No, I mean, what can I tell you? I mean, I'm probably here talking to you mostly because Michael accepted to do our first movie together, which was Manhunter.
Yeah.
Produced by Dino De Laurentiis, and he accepted this idea from Dino to work with me. I mean, I think it was my first movie in the States.
Yeah.
And boy, what a heck of a start with Michael Mann. It wasn't easy. Half the crew was some part of the crew was Italian. Nobody could speak English. It was a real complicated affair. But there was something that really caught my enthusiasm, regardless of the difficulties and the complication of doing a movie in a system which I didn't know really well. I had just started being a freelance a couple of years earlier.
Yeah.
The risk was high. I had a family already. I mean, but the how can I say, his way of making movie hooked up with something that was already in myself that maybe I hadn't already discovered,
Right.
It's fantastic. I mean, there was an immediate connection, even though we rarely spoke during the shoot. Michael was, we did remember going, we became friends. We were spending time having dinner together or, spending time. He had a place in Carolina on the beach, a beautiful house, and he invited me and my wife. My son was conceived at the end of that movie, and he was born exactly on the day in which that movie came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But there was something about his movie making that fascinated me. I mean, which was in me without me probably realizing it, right? Without me realizing it before that. So the contribution I was giving with the lighting was combining wonderfully with the way he was telling his story with the camera.
Yeah.
And you see what I mean? And my understanding of his idea of a plan of the movie. In fact, I remember he wanted me to we shot some scenes with a green light, which he really thought was a key color for drama. On the end of the movie, in the house, the killing of, has some green light coming in. There's a lot of green and black, especially. I introduced him to the blue light, which was more romantic. So this was something that was really, the way I was lighting the movie had a lot to do with the way he was telling the story.
Yes.
For some reason.
Yeah. The way you guys, the two of you, the way you capture moments and people, I haven't seen anything like it, and I think I've seen quite a bit of movies. The way the two of you just capture a scene, capture people, capture the moments. It's just so unique. Dante, I've never seen it like this before.
Yeah, I mean, I still consider Heat probably one of the best movies, if not the best movie.
Well, it's top 5 all time, regardless of what anybody thinks. It's one of the best movies ever made. I mean,
yeah, probably one of the best movies I worked on. Yeah,
Dante, let me ask you a question. That coffee shop scene with Pacino and De Niro was I always heard the rumor that was shot. They were never together. It was shot one guy, then the other guy came in and shot the other part of it. Is that true, Dante? Can you straighten that out for me?
Yeah, it was a very interesting rumor. In fact, a great friend of mine who was one of the best known film critics, in Italy. She also asked me the same question. He said, "Were they together?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I said, "Yes, of course they were together." I don't know why this thing came out. Maybe it was done on purpose. I have no idea. The search for that location was incredible. I think I'm saying more than 100 locations were photographed by Gusmano Cesaretti,
Wow.
looking for the right spot where to do the scene. In the end, Michael said, "Guys, this weekend, let's get together and I'll take you to Kate Mantillini," which was the name of the restaurant. He's not working anymore. Was the name of the restaurant where we shoot the scene, right?
Yeah.
And the option was that location because it was extremely simple, very monochromatic. You don't see colors around if you're in the scene. We shot the scene with 4 cameras, 2 on one actor and 2 on the other at the same time, which is makes things wasn't done often in those days because it was really complicating the cinematography, the lighting. It was complicating a lot of things. But we did it with these 2 guys, with Pacino and De Niro, who's, by the way, Robert De Niro is the main protagonist of Alto Nights, which is the last film I was talking about, who will come out in the near future. And I don't know, we did probably 22, 23 takes in the night. And notoriously, Michael used take 11, which is the best take of them all, almost entirely.
So the coffee shop scene had over 20 takes, you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a relatively small number.
Dante, I'm going to tell you, I lived my whole life believing that rumor that those 2 were never together during that scene. Like, I swear to God, everyone always said, no, I used to read stuff that said they were never together for that scene. People would say, oh, that's too bad. I guess people used to say, oh, they filmed one guy, then the other guy, and they meshed it together. I'm like, but the fact that you just cleared that up, Dante, is a big moment for me.
Yeah. No, in fact, if you look, there are some shots which are over one of the guys into the other. So you do.
Yeah, the back of his head. You see the back of. Yeah. That's so.
And
yeah,
it's interesting because in this recent movie that I did. Sorry, there's something bothering on this phone. In this recent movie that I shot, why isn't the phone shutting down? I don't know. Robert De Niro was playing 2 characters, and these 2 characters had to play 3 or 4 scenes together. So we had to use a emotion control camera but you see the scenes and they look perfectly. They look like they are 2 different people.
He must trust you a lot at this point, Dante. Robert De Niro. He must really think the world of you
I hope so.
Yeah. He must. I mean, at this point, if he doesn't trust you, I think we've got problems, right? He must really think the world of you.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, he is terrific.
No, we had a great, really, a really fantastic shoot because it was very intense but very enjoyable at the same time. With these amazing artists. I mean, De Niro is just a surprisingly good actor.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, he's especially in Heat, he was unbelievable. Dante, I wanted to ask you a few questions about both Heat and The Last of the Mohicans. Is there a word? I hate asking this question, but I have to ask you because you have so much depth to your movies. Even the movies you're never asked about, Dante, like Family Man is a really good movie with Nick Cage. I love that movie. Like, there's so many movies. Red Dragon, like I feel like I could go on and on about the non-movies, that the ones that maybe are not as popular as the all-time classics you see on your screen. But are you asked a lot about those movies? The Red Dragons, the Family Man, the Wonder Boys, great movie. Like,
Yeah, well, the first two are part of my collaboration with my very good friend Brad Ratner.
Yeah,
who I enjoyed working with for a number of films, probably 4 or 5 films. Yeah, I mean, we shot Family Man in New York, around New York, if I well remember. The cast was amazing, including the role covered by the wife. What's her name?
I'll get it. Oh, you had to ask. Oh, the one he gets very. Keep talking. I'll get it.
Yeah, I wish I could keep talking. Who plays
Tia Leone.
Tia Leone, wonderful Tia Leone.
Yeah.
The character who plays,
you know what's a great shot, Dante, of one of your movies, in the Red Dragon, is when Philip Seymour Hoffman in the wheelchair, kind of going down on fire. That is an awesome scene. That is awesome. That is one of the scenes I always remember in cinema. Like,
yeah.
Was that a fun scene to shoot for you?
No. It wasn't, because the poor grips who had to get the shot ready. Imagine, we were shooting the movie in Carolina, North Carolina, where the De Laurentiis studios were.
Right.
And and we went around. Also, I think we went to Atlanta. We went into 4 or 5 different locations. It was tough because Michael has this idea on the shot, and again we had this complication in communication, and the grips were Italian, and so we were not really ready in getting the camera mounted on the chair to travel with this chair. It was just something which was really complicated. It was a very tense moment. It was late at night, in the morning.
Yeah.
So it wasn't fun, but I knew that the scene would have looked amazing, because it's really something scary.
Yeah.
One of the scariest shots I've done
Dante, knowing that we were going to speak, I was watching the end of Heat. I watch it all the time, the Heat movie Heat. And, the look in Pacino's eyes when he takes De Niro's hand. Oh, like years later, Dante, I have never seen an ending like that. Did you get emotional shooting that end scene, that whole end sequence with the Moby song? Oh God, it's perfect cinema. It's perfect.
Well, again, it's I imagine how different it would have been to shoot a scene like this in today's technological times. The way we shot the scene was complicated for a couple of reasons. First of all, we had to delay the scene for a couple of weeks. Again, Robert De Niro Al Pacino hurt himself running at the airport.
Oh, okay.
So we had to shoot something else, and postpone for a couple of weeks the scene of the airport, because he had to run, and he hurt himself in some other scene. There was a lot of action, if you do remember.
Yes.
In the movie, physical action by all.
A lot, yes.
going into the apartment to catch West Studi, by the way. Wasn't it West Studi when they go to West?
That's right. Yes, yes.
They throw down the door and then they get in with the guns and he was on the phone with somebody and they stop him, I think.
Yes, yes.
Something like that. Anyway, so I had to have so much light because Michael wanted and liked to shoot with a zoom lens. Now, a zoom lens, as you know, is a T-stop, as a diaphragm,
Right.
which is relatively close. I mean, you needed to be a so-called 4.5 or 5.6, meaning you needed a lot of light to shoot with the zoom lens. Instead, to shoot with the prime lenses, you didn't need a lot of light. But I had to be ready to be able to shoot with a lot of light. And we had, I think, 20 Dino lights. Dino lights are huge lamps composed of 24 1,000 watt lamps each. You can imagine 24 of these lined up in rows of 4, so 4 by 8.
Wow.
4 by, to get to 24 with 4, what is that? Six rows maybe, right?
Right.
6 by 4, 24, that's right. And these very narrow spotlights, which I would put on the side of the set, which was the end of the runway. So we had to shoot at night when we had no landing. And we had to cover these lights with some black so that the light wouldn't flare on the pilots who were, coming down, even if they were on. So we were shooting in the middle of the light, and I would light on and off these lights according to the shot. So they were looking for each other in the middle of these red and white boxes, right? They were playing,
right.
sort of playing hide and seek. And then there's a plane that lands, so the lights of the runway come up, and Al Pacino sees the shadows, or Bob De Niro, who appears, right? And he sees the shadow, and that's why he raises the gun and he shoots. And he catches Bob De Niro. Of course, the audience was not happy because they also loved Robert De Niro's character, right? You're very unhappy when he gets killed.
Yeah. But it had to happen. It had to happen that way because he broke his own rule. Like, he was free, Dante. He had it all. He escaped it, but he couldn't let go of Waingro, which is another great scene. He could not let it go. He could not stand the fact that this guy got one over on him. He had to go down.
Yeah.
So it's his own choice to take himself out, because once he makes that choice, he then chooses the path of where he eventually ends up. So but boy, what a last 15 minutes. Dante, that whole movie is iconic.
And then the girl waiting in the car, and everybody running. Every time I go to the airport and go by that hotel, the whole scene comes back to my memory. The whole night of shooting and shots like the helicopter, if you remember, arriving to the scene, right?
Yeah.
That starts in the air, and you see this helicopter that the camera turns around and comes down and lighting the whole building, which was kind of frontally lit. A lot of. So, today we would have probably shot that scene. I do remember scouting that location, which was the end of the runway at the LA airport. I mean, we're talking about a rather big location. I mean, and it doesn't happen. I don't think it could happen today. I don't think nobody would be allowed to shoot, at the end of the runway at the LA airport. But we were allowed that time, and I had to use so much light, to be able to shoot with the zoom lenses, and so we had this powerful light on dimmer. So when we didn't see the lights, we didn't see with the camera, we could turn on, and we had to shut down the lights. In which there were lights everywhere, so we could be shooting in any direction according to the action, how we were shooting the sequence. And I could light on and off different lights, to maintain and to light whatever I needed. Today, we could have shot the scene, I remember scouting, as I was telling you, and there was so much light in the air, because the end of the runway, all the lights of the end of the runway, all the lights of the airport scattered in the atmosphere, the end of the runway. And we could have probably shot the scene today without any lighting, which would have been an amazing atmosphere, because it's an incredible atmosphere with the noises of the jets moving in the airport, and then taking off or landing. It's absolutely spectacular, which was Michael's idea, to have this final scene in the movie happen in a kind of a outer world, a world which is not real, which is not with its feet on the ground, a world that belongs to another space, another dimension, which is the planes flying at 10,000, 30,000 feet in the air.
Yeah.
I must say it was a very exciting shooting of the finale, but we had to use all that light, and I can see it on Al Pacino's face. I wish my idea was to have something softer in there, but it was impossible to do it.
But the look on his face, Dante, the way it came out was perfect.
Because
he is so hurt. Go ahead. It's just
because he's such a great actor.
The look on his face was he did not want to take him down. He did not want to do that. And when he takes his hand, it melts your heart. Dante, let me ask you because this movie has the best gun scenes in any movie ever made. The gunfights in this movie are second to none. How chaotic is that for you as a cinematographer to get that right, to get that down? Because I feel like there's a lot going on for you at that time.
Well, we shot the scene in. It took, I think, basically 4 weekends.
Okay, wow.
Do all the scene 2 days every weekend, because we couldn't shoot downtown. And I think the nickname of that scene was the Third World War.
Mm-hmm.
We were prepping the sequence, right? It was all prepped on maps, on paper, very accurately. And we would start shooting early in the morning, say, as soon as we had some light, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. So you can imagine what it was like downtown to have these machine guns firing full rounds, in heavy blanks, the most powerful blanks you could find. In fact, the sound that Michael used for the movie was the actual sound that was recorded while we were shooting.
Wow.
Because the echo that all these bullets, all these gunshots bouncing off of these tall glass and steel buildings was kind of unique. It could have been replicated in any other way.
Yeah.
We actually owned the street and the ramp into the freeway. I do remember using 3 very powerful lights, the most powerful lights available back in those days, which were, how are they called? Xenon lights, 10,000 watts.
Wow.
Really powerful mirror light, which I put on 3 or 4 buildings to try to have something to use when the sun was going away, something to keep the light alive, And for instance, when the car finally gets shot, the driver, the African-American driver they hire, goes under the bridge and gets shot by Al Pacino's coming down with a machine gun. Those guys spent, not Pacino, I don't think, but I also went one day there too. Those guys spent quite a number of days and weeks at the how do you call the area where you go training for gun shooting?
Gun range?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They spent weeks there to learn what it felt like to shoot real live round, because Michael felt that if an actor knows what it feels like to shoot live round, behaves differently when he's actually, acting
Mm.
with a gun.
Dante, you bring up a great point because, like, I'm a gun owner. I belong to a range. I have many handguns. I like to just train and but like I have to say, people, the average moviegoer who may not own a gun does not realize how difficult it is to shoot a gun. Some movies, they make you look like, there's a hand out the window and it's easy to shoot, but that's a genius move by Michael to do that, because then you have an idea of really what you're dealing with and how powerful it is, right, Dante?
Yeah. Well, in fact, we also went to, I remember going there to the shooting range because we had a video camera set up with the same, frame that the movie has, which is anamorphic, right? So 235, 240, 21. And we were testing all the possible framing, behind the head of the guy shooting. So you had the perspective of the gun on the shoulder, this other shoulder, the camera was behind.
Yeah.
So that you had to create a dynamic between the head of the guy, the gun itself, right, and the subject of the direction where they were shooting, and the subject of the, and then all the attack and all those cars and all these cars hit by, these bullets, and knowing that those cars could have never protected anybody, from the power of those gunshots.
Right.
So, what those bandits were carrying to steal the money from the bank were absolutely formidable machine guns or guns that police could not be protected, by their cars, but they couldn't find protection off of this gun shooting.
Yeah.
And that in the scene actually shows this, I think.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic scene. For me, we had 5 or 6 cameras. I remember we shot the scene where Cerrito, I think is his name, runs away picks up the little girl.
Okay.
In the park, right?
Yep. Gotcha.
Carries the girl to defend himself as an hostage. And then Pacino comes around from the other side, understands where he's going. I remember shooting that scene where it was so dark that you could barely see your hand, and Michael needed to shoot it, and it was really dark, but I pushed all the film 2000 ASA, the whole film from beginning to end,
right,
regardless of sunlight or no sunlight, because I knew that in many occasions we would have ended at the end of the day in darkness, needing, we had the number of locations, which was huge. I don't remember, 50 or 60 different locations. It was incredible in how many places we had to be. So many times those final minutes were precious to be able to complete the scene. And that's what happened in this case. We didn't shoot the actual shooting when the girl falls down from Cerrito's arms, and Cerrito gets hit and caught by Al,
yeah,
and falls on the water. That was shot the day later. But the whole scene in which he runs through the coffee place and the people runs away and he catches this girl as a hostage and keeps running was shot. I remember it was really dark. We were trying to really make the most of the whole day. We had to, because there were a lot of things to do, many things, and they were very complicated, and they had to be absolutely exact in order to be believable. There's nothing in that movie that is wrestling. There's nothing which is fake.
Right.
There's no joking. This is not a joke. Everything is extremely real. You get these guys getting into the bank and scaring off all the customers and tying some of them, hitting the director of the bank. Everything is extremely believable. It could have really happened. That's what makes the movie powerful and strong and believable and fascinating.
And so rewatchable, Dante. So like as technology unfolds, like
Yeah.
I have a TV. It's not fancy, but it's a solid good TV. It's got the 4K, so I'm able to see things I didn't see 20 years ago. Like it's much more clear and crisp. I can see the way things unfolded a little better. So that's just, and I'm even more impressed by your work, right? I was impressed by your work in '95 and even before that, but like now that I see like what technology has provided as a movie fan, and boy, what a great time to be a movie fan, Dante.
Yeah, we know. In fact, we had a screening of that movie of Heat at the Academy. I was shooting a movie up in Sacramento with a very good friend of mine, a great director, Dion Taylor, right?
Yeah.
And but we had this evening, and Michael invited me to participate to this evening of Heat. It was a new rendering, a new master. I think it was 4K or 6K.
Right, gotcha. I got you.
Mastered by Company 3, Stefan Sonnenfeld. I was there for probably a couple of weeks myself or less. But it took to them a month to redo this, no? And as you know, the negative with which we shot film had much more information than the positive print with which we screened the movie later.
Gotcha.
So at some point, the discussion after the screening, everybody was there. De Niro, Pacino, Michael Mann at the beginning. Then they invited us, the collaborators, on the stage as well to continue this debate. I mean, the theater at the Academy was totally filled up. I mean, the amazing thing was totally, it was full. The theater was full. And the amazing thing is that people used to applaud before the scene started because they knew the scene.
Yeah.
And so the applause was starting, before the scene started. Anyway.
So you had people like clapping before like the coffee shop scene or clapping before the final.
Yes,
wow.
What they're clapping about. They're clapping because they think the scene is great and they know exactly how the scene is and they're just enthusiastic. But anyway, at the end, I say something like, I say, for me, I enter in this debate and I express my opinion. I explain how we've done the scene between De Niro and the girl on the terrace, the first evening they spent together on the terrace with all the ocean of lights underneath, the use of the computer, which was a very early thing back in those days, which I had proposed to Michael Mann. Michael, let's use the computer, add the sky and the landscape. So we shot the scene in the real location, but with green screens. The backgrounds are added later.
Right.
For a number of technical reasons. Anyway, what I do say that evening is, I say Chris Nolan was was coordinating the debating. He was leading the discussion. And I say, I think the movie is a better movie because of this transfer to digital technology that we've done recently. And Chris Nolan turns towards me and he says, I beg your pardon. You know how Chris Nolan is.
He's a big film. He is all about. Is he he's a 35 millimeter guy, right? Is he?
Exactly. He only thinks in terms of film and photochemical film. The old film.
I think you're right, but I think there's something really beautiful about the way Nolan thinks. I think it's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. But I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the movie, mine was of course also a provocation. I did it on purpose. But however, you can't control everything on a movie. Say when you're shooting, you cannot, especially a movie of that dimension. If you happen to be in a place where there's a wall which is color blue and you don't think the color blue is correct, is right, or is disturbing, or is calling the attention. What you can do later digitally is important because you can take away the distraction. And so you can pay more attention to the story without being distracted by things which are not exactly
Yeah.
what's wrong in the shot, right? Or lights which are too bright in the background, or a cabinet that is the shot is white, so your eye goes there instead of going to the face of the actor.
Mm.
So I said, I think the movie is a better movie. It's a better story because of that, which caused a very interesting reaction on Chris. And, then I had to explain why.
Yeah, he's an amazing director with some of what he's done. Dante, I have two quick questions for you, and thank you for all of this time. It means very much. It's very special for me, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
what is it like when the cameras go off? Right, because the cast of Heat, like forget like De Niro and Pacino, but like Tom Sizemore is amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer is amazing. I mean, Judd is amazing. Like it's such a deep cast. But when the cameras shut down between Pacino and De Niro, what are they like? What does it sound like? What does it look like when the cameras are off and they're just talking to you about a scene, about what to do? How's that dynamic work, Dante, with those two?
American filmmaking is filmmaking of big dimension.
Yeah.
When you do a film in Italy, which I've done for a couple of years, became a freelance, it's a small group of people. Maybe you're shooting in Sicily or somewhere else, you all become friends. Here, especially a Michael Mann movie, I mean, everybody's so busy, right?
Right.
And you have so many things to do in one day to keep the schedule, to stay on schedule, that really it's so tough that you just keep working and do what you have to do. And there's not really time to make friends or communicate.
Right.
So at the end of the day, they take off with their driver or their secretary, and you go home because it's over. You've done 12, 14 hours of working during the day, and the next day you have to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right, Dante. But do they talk to you about so say the coffee shop scene? Like, do they talk to you about, as the cinematographer? Do they say to you, "Hey, was that okay? Should I do this? Would you want me here?" Do they seek your opinion when the cameras go off on the scene itself? Not necessarily like a friendship.
Not on a Michael Mann movie. Michael has a direct relationship with the actors.
Gotcha.
And with Michael also we do more and more towards these last movies. There's a lot of preparation going on. So
yeah,
we know exactly what we're going to do that day. We know there's going to be a Steadicam movement around Al Pacino's face in the nightclub of what was that? Heat, yes.
Yeah.
Heat, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's so many things to do that all the discussion goes on through Michael Mann, because Michael has a complete control of his relationship with the actors. That's why he's able to work with a number of guys.
Yeah.
And maybe he's able also to disagree with a number of guys who maybe apparently do hate to work with him, but then maybe they work again with him.
Yeah.
I do remember, for instance, even Russell Crowe, with whom we did The Insider. It was him and Michael got along very well together because Michael is very well prepared on every minor detail of shooting a movie. Not everybody's like him. So yes, in other films, there's a different kind of relationship,
Right.
Me as a cinematographer, as a director of photography, I can suggest a director to go maybe in another direction, to shoot the scene in a different way, to shoot the scene in a different way. I mean, to approach the issue of getting the scene together in a different way. But I can do that if I think that is more effective, if I have a different idea. But I need to be absolutely sure that I know exactly what goes on in the head of the director.
Right.
If I'm not sure about that,
yeah,
we have no movie.
He is one of my all-time favorites, as are you. I will end with this. Another beautiful
director. He's the guy who you refer to because he's been working on a movie for a long time.
Yeah.
And, he knows 360. about the movie. Sometimes he asks for the cinematographer's help to organize and direct. Why not?
Yeah, now I get it. Now I get it.
Barry
Yeah.
Levinson, for instance, is someone who leaves things open to improvisation very happily. He loves to receive I could go in and suggest, Barry, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we put the camera here? Why don't we do this move? The technology of cinema is changing because we can shoot film now with still cameras. The quality that these small cameras deliver is so high that you can really keep your camera right here, like I hold my cell phone, you see, right here on the side, and you see an interesting angle when you're doing a scene with an actor, which I've done in this last movie. And you see, and you pick up this camera, and the last moment you roll. Director approves the shot. He said, "It's great, time to do it."
Yeah,
I need to be sure that I understand what the director has in mind because I need to do his movie. I can't do my movie.
Gotcha. That's a great answer.
Otherwise, there's no movie. There's no film.
Are you like me, where you believe a movie should be shown on the big screen for its debut, not in somebody's living room?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
100%.
I know I have a very sophisticated TV here. I could watch a movie if I need to see a movie, and if I need to see a movie, and I mean, my TV is a high quality, but seeing a film on the large screen on a theater is what belongs to us, to our culture, to this epoch of time. There's no discussion about that.
Yeah,
I don't see a lot of films. I only see movies that I know are really great, or I see movies because there's something technical that I'm really curious or interested. If they're not good, I tend to be bored, and after 15 minutes, I leave the theater, or more. However, going to see a movie on a cinema with a big screen, with the sound, and maybe the theater is filled up with people, it's an entirely different joy. I mean, it's an entirely different joy.
Yeah. Did you see Oppenheimer?
I did.
Yeah.
One of the very few movies I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll end with this.
For us, Oppenheimer was a very, very important movie because we lived through that era.
Right.
The way, I arrived a little bit later. I grew up and I understood things. I was born in 1943, so but we could recognize, we knew the story very well.
Yeah, very important movie. A movie that you've done that I feel like deserves more credit because it's just so terrific. It's just like you could shut the volume off and the movie just is gorgeous, and that's Public Enemies. I thought that was such a gorgeous movie. I mean, I think I saw this thing 2 or 3 times and it came out in a theater. I feel like it's been like that with a lot of your movies, but Public Enemies just looks beautiful. There's that scene in that apple orchard, beautiful. And then I watched the last 10 minutes today, just knowing we were going to speak. That death scene is shot so, like, it just hits you like a hammer. And then when he goes down to listen to what he's saying, like, oh my God, Dante, this movie's awesome. Like, for anybody who's listening to this, like, yes, see all Dante's movies, absolutely, even the ones that are coming out, but give Public Enemies one more try. It is really one of the best movies I've ever seen.
You should be talking to Michael Mann about those things.
Yeah. But really
I only made the orchard grow better. So, I mean, I was cultivating that orchard and make sure that the flowers had a proper color.
Yeah.
The apple. But that's all Michael and his scouting, and I mean, if you can say the similar things about The Last of the Mohicans.
Yes.
Where you had the massacre when they come out of the fort, there's the attack of the Indians, right?
Yep.
And which is where Daniel Day-Lewis and his friends managed to run away, right? The Indians attacked from the side, and Michael Mann created that the bottom of the valley that looks like a garden, with those green plants.
Yeah.
Look like a lot of corn plants, but they were planted 1 year earlier. And so you have
Wow.
this massacre happening in a garden, like in a beautiful nature, glorious looking nature place, you know.
Yeah.
Pristine plants on the floor. A few snakes as well that you couldn't see, but you know.
You could hit pause in that movie, Dante, one of about 1,000 times. Just pause the screen, and it would look like a painting. I mean, Last of the Mohicans is so stunningly beautiful. Visually, it's almost like suffocating. It's so beautiful. Like it's
Yeah.
you could tell that. You know, I'll end this. This will be it because you brought his name up. Daniel Day-Lewis. Many consider him to be the best actor, and I see why. Do you see why many people consider him or regard him in such? Or see him in such high regard? Do you see it?
Well, I don't know. I can only tell you that we went to London. I was invited to by Michael to go to London to see the premiere of The Last of the Mohicans.
Wow.
It was a huge theater that was taken down in favor of probably a supermarket. They built a mall, some sort of thing. So to honor the finale of this huge cinema, we screened the movie there, you know? And they screened the movie. We screened the movie there, the premiere in London of The Last of the Mohicans. And after the screening, we went to a bar and to have a drink, to toast to the success of the screening, because here clearly it's a beautiful movie that keeps the people glued to the screen for the whole screening, for the time of screening. And I was sitting in this bar, and I had a guy next to me, and I was like, great. At some point, I spoke to him, and we spoke. We said a few things. And what are you doing? And I realized that this guy was Daniel Day-Lewis, meaning he had changed himself because he was doing
oh my God!
Some Shakespeare in a theater. You see what I mean?
So you were hold on. You were in London for this premiere of Last of the Mohicans, and the star of the movie has changed so much. He's next to you at a bar that you can't even recognize him.
Yeah. It took me a little while to.
He does. I guess the rumors are true. He really does commit to it. When he's all in, he's all in.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, Dante.
He was really, he trained a lot. He did a lot of training, running and loading the gun and shooting. And he was also a pleasure to work with, because he was, he's a kind of actors like Robert De Niro. They are so concentrated. They stay on their own, like, Bob, even in the last movie, he was on his own the whole day waiting for the scene to happen, to stay concentrated. And you see the precision of what they do later. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. All I can say, Dante, is thank you for all the work you've done. I mean, you've brought so much joy to so many people with your images and your intellect and what you've done. It's just mind blowing to look at what you've done, and I'm excited to see the new project that's coming out. They don't have a date for it yet?
I don't know. I don't know. We finished recently the post-production, the grading and everything.
Gotcha.
So I have no idea when Warner's wants to come out with it.
Dante, do you have your own personal favorite of all your? I mean, it's like your children, right? Your movies are all like your children. You can't pick one because
no, you know why? Because every movie has something special in. For instance, I had a great time working with Sam Raimi and doing The Quick and the Dead and getting to know.
That's a great movie. Quick and the Dead.
Getting to know Sharon Stone and Gene Hackman and Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's one of his first 3 movies first 4 movies. But yeah, that's a great movie.
It was his second or third movie. What about Russell Crowe? Same thing.
That's
it was his first movie in the States.
That's right.
I actually shot Russell's 3 first movies in the United States, because the other one was LA Confidential,
Yeah. Sharon Stone was on another podcast, and she was talking about that movie. And she was talking about how they wanted to cast somebody else for Leo's part. Like, I can't remember who it was. But she was like, no, I want Leo. I think Leo is right for this. And, she was...
Yes, because he was also producer in the film.
Yeah. So she was talking about that end of it. So, Dante, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. You've had